Well, the thing that I came back for was because I had such a good time last year. Everybody treated me extremely nicely, and I'm very interested in a lot of the things that are being talked about here and are being thought about here. And I like the people who are putting it on. I just found the entire experience to be really good, and I would love to have some kind of continuing connection with it if possible. Yes, I have met George. I think I would call him a friend. He's a wonderful writer, and I was a fan of his work before Game of Thrones. That said, I think Game of Thrones and the whole Song of Ice and Fire series is some wonderful work. And on top of that, of course, it's become a bit of a phenomenon, and the television adaptation has been very, very good. So it's kind of a win-win for our genre, I think, in general. And because I like George and his work so much, that's another part of it that's very successful and very pleasing to me, because he's a really good guy and he's an excellent writer. I think the Otherland world would be, the Otherland universe would be very nice to live in, because it's, in the near future, the technology is even more exciting than what we have now, and it allows you the possibility to experience virtually anything, including worlds that are based on, history or famous literature. So that's an awful lot of things to choose from. So, plus, as I said, they have modern plumbing, so that would probably be my choice. I think the prize is the actual statue. The prize itself is beautiful. However, I have learned that if you are running late to catch a plane in the airport in Frankfurt, it's not necessarily something you want to be carrying with you, because that bugger is heavy. It went home. It was shown to all the friends and neighbors and family. Pictures were posted on various social media sites, and right now it's occupying a position of honor in our living room. So it's there for everybody to see, and it has been much admired. Well, the workshop was generally about virtual worlds, and what I always try and do in any situation where I'm working with people is to maybe have a few ideas going in, but not to be too rigid about it. And so once we got together and I talked to some of the people doing it and kind of got a feeling that the most interesting thing we could do is work in a kind of a general way instead of, say, workshop individual projects. So what we actually had was a day-long kind of roundtable discussion about the issues of working in virtuality, in both in games and as art, and I think it will probably be the future of fiction as well. So we kind of went all over the place. One of the amusing things, again, just sort of being flexible and spur of the moment. As I was coming back from a break at one point, I was noticing some of the very fat pigeons that were waddling around outside the door here in Stuttgart at the Literaturhaus. And I suddenly said, well, let's actually do a project together, in the sense of actually try to think up how something would work. And there's a pigeon. What would it be like to be a pigeon? And more importantly, what would you do with that in a virtual space? How would you go about it? So we spent most of the afternoon talking about just these issues. What are we trying to do here? How are we trying to be a pigeon? Are we trying to represent real pigeons? Is it naturalistic? If so, how does the pigeon interact with the environment? What's in the environment? All these kinds of issues, which I was mostly doing because it's instructive of not just working in virtual space, but of the creative process in general, which is that every question engenders many more questions. And if you're going to create something from scratch, it takes a lot of thought and oftentimes a lot of research. But it was great fun. And I also learned a lot from many of the people involved. A lot of them are people who are working professionally in games and in other fields that were interesting to me. And everybody was very good at sharing. And I think a lot of information went both ways, not just from me, but I got information back as well. Well, actually, important for me can also include amusing. And definitely when we were talking about trying to create a virtual pigeon, it was really interesting to me how many people in the workshop thought it was really important that these virtual pigeons should be able to defecate on virtual people in the environment. I wasn't entirely prepared for that, but we folded it into the whole thing. We figured out a way that anybody who purely just wanted that aspect of it, we would put that in the simulation for them when we built it. No, I mostly what I got back from other people was specific responses to things that I said in a general sense, and they would come back to me with, in my field or with what I'm doing, the people that I work with, that problem comes up this way. And I'm always interested in the place where generalities, where ideas come into contact with reality and where people are actually making art, especially with technology. That's long been an interest of mine. So simply getting to hear other people's experiences with trying to use these kinds of ideas and philosophies in real life was really fascinating.